Welcome, everybody. It's getting that time of year when exhibitors and rosarians turn to rose catalogs and are dreaming about new spring roses. So, New Horizon Roses will give you an insight into some great new roses. It's our 42nd year, 42 years promoting the newest exhibition roses. Here's a brief history of what Horizon Roses is all about. Starting with the legacy of Bill McMahon, who founded Horizon Roses. And there he is. In 1983, he was the Tenarchy District Director, and he started what he called the Autumn Checklist of Horizon Roses. He recruited a group of regional editors who built a group of reporters throughout the nation. Readers began to refer to the publication as simply Horizon Roses, and by popular demand, he changed the name. Next is Bob Martin. Bob Martin was a top exhibitor, a writer, a judge, a speaker, and he became a reporter in 1992. He was promoted to Southwest Regional Editor in 95. And then in 2006, Bill McMahon retired from Horizon Roses, and at Bill's request, Bob Martin took over as national editor. He held this position of national editor until his untimely passing in 2021. And the torch was passed to me in 2022. That was the first New Horizon Roses in 2022. I want you to meet our regional editors who do so much to make this publication a success. For the Deep South, Gulf, and Carolina District, we have Cindy Dale, Mary Fulgham in South Central and Central regions, Jeff and Cindy Garrett, Tenarchy District, Bill Kazemchak, Northeast region, Mark Miller, Buckeye District, Diane Summers, ARS former president and North Central region representative, Wendy Tilley, Pacific Northwest and Rocky Mountain districts. And I represent the Southwest region as well as being national editor. So I have my own set of reporters to get reports from. Every year, I try to remember someone who has made a great impact on rose exhibiting in the country and remember them after they've passed. This year, it's Daisy Louise Mills, best known as Miss Daisy. She was First Lady of K&M Roses. She perfected the art of grafting roses. She exhibited roses with her husband Jim, winning numerous awards. And along with Jim, she made available to exhibitors the best exhibition roses, both en route and grafted onto Fortuniana. And this lovely hybrid tea rose was named in her honor, hybridized by Fred Wright, and thanks to Diane Pavlovich for the photo. Now I want to talk a little bit about the honor roll. The honor roll consists of roses that have received high ratings in past issues of the publication by exhibitors from a wide cross-section of the country. Honor roll roses are generally considered bankers, roses you can take to the bank at the shows by exhibitors, the consistent top exhibition varieties. We do not continue to report on varieties that have achieved this honor. Here are the 2024 inductees to the honor roll. The Impressionist, wonderful climber, comes from Heirloom Roses. And the miniature Bob Martin. It was queen at the 2020 3 Shreveport National Convention, shown by Ray and Diane Gullibo. New Horizon Roses shares the collective knowledge and experience of 106 of the nation's top exhibitors from 28 states on the exhibition potential of hundreds of roses introduced into commerce in the last 5 years. After 5 years, they fall off the rolls. Some roses were previously in commerce overseas and have now been released in the United States. New releases for the first time in the United States of old roses count as new roses. As we look through these reviews, I'd like you to note the locations of the reporters as they offer their opinions on these new roses. A rose that is disease resistant in the East, where black spot is prevalent, may not be disease resistant in the West, where powdery mildew is more common. A rose whose bloom may be too small to exhibit in warmer regions may be great for exhibition in regions with cooler climates. So pay attention when you're looking at the reviews in this publication to exactly where the reporter is located. Photos of a rose preserve a moment in time, and often a moment when the rose looks its very best. This moment may be fleeting or infrequent. So remember, one good bloom every once in a while is not enough to make a rose a great exhibition rose. All that being said, let's look at the roses. I'm reviewing in this program 124 top picks from the 279 varieties featured in New Horizon Roses 2024. I couldn't include them all or we'd be here all day. Let's look at the hybrid teas. This is a sport of Zach Noble, and it was found by Satish Prabhu. I have chosen to put reviews for some of these roses and not for others because if I don't have a lot of reviews, then it's not worth trying to put like one comment. Now here's one that has many reviews, American Made. Hopper from Georgia says, deep pink 5-inch blooms with excellent form and long straight stems. Definitely has exhibition potential. From Texas, beautiful bright pink color. Repeat bloom is good and a vigorous plant produces large blooms with occasional exhibition form. Nice straight stems, good disease resistance. From Louisiana, electric pink with sweet fragrance. Great garden rose, but I've seen a lot of queens on it too. Next is Amy from John Smith, the hybridizer that brought us Sunny Sundays and Randy Scott. Pennsylvania says bright yellow blooms with spiral form, straight canes, and exhibition potential. Lou Pavlovich in Arizona says great yellow exhibition roses are hard to find in our brutal hot climate. Amy shows great promise. It has good form, substance, and color. After 2 years, it has good growth and nice stem length and foliage. From Georgia, soft yellow blooms on a new bush, plenty of petals and exhibition form. Stem and foliage look good. Might be the yellow I have been missing. You will notice that I am taking reviews. I might have 25 reviews on this rose, and I try to pick something from the north, from the south, from the west, whatever variety of reviews I can get. Avant-Garde, our cover rose. Jason Capote in New York tells us blooms are absolutely gorgeous. Perfect form flowers on each cane with ridiculous scent in beautiful red and white stripes, blending places to pink. Blooms held their form in high heat. Potential to be a big-time exhibition rose. From Georgia, large red and white striped florist rose that will show. And from Louisiana, this may be my favorite from the Painter series, and it is definitely the best candidate to make the head table. Great spiral form and color. This one is a beauty with fragrance. This one is called Ball Gown, and it's also been released as Romantica Ball Gown. I only had reviews from Northern California and Southern California, nothing back east, but this is what was said. Beautiful silvery light pink coloration that lasts through the life of the large bloom with full figured Romantica look. She struts her stuff in fashionable attire, glossy foliage, and high heels, long stems. She has had a very classy debut. And Beth Van Boxtel in Southern California said, very difficult to grow on the coast. This rose has great potential, but it gets powdery mildew and the edges of the blooms easily turn brown in wet weather. Cherrytown. First bloom was absolutely gorgeous, perfectly formed with high center and perfect spiral that held in 95-degree heat. Combine that with flaming pink edges on a stark white petal, and you get a show winner here. Ohio said good exhibition form may currently be the best red blend hybrid tea exhibition rose. Thank you, Jim Herring. And Lou in Arizona, this fabulous new hybrid tea has great upright growth and produces nice long stems. The bloom is white with rose red edging. And this is Clovey from Pennsylvania. Bloom is lovely color with plenty of petals, good size and form. The plant is an upright grower with straight canes. Carol Shockley in Arkansas says, one of my favorites, and it will show. The color is lovely and original. The form is good, and it produces large blooms. Tilly in Washington said, my new favorite peachy colored rose. Blooms are very large with terrific form and substance on large stems, and the fragrance is to die for. This is a rose I considered putting on the cover of the publication, but it just has not had enough release in the United States. It was hybridized in Canada by Brad Jalbert of Select Roses. Some of his roses are available in the United States. This one, not so much so far, but it looks like a winner. And from Tom Caruth, from Minnesota, its first bloom cycle produced many flowers. Most had excellent exhibition form, but were too small to show. First indications are promising. Ken Huff in California said, I have great hopes for this one. Leaves are nice and glossy, and the blooms open nicely for our hot climate in Escondido. And Tilly in Washington said, strong grower in its first 2 years, with nicely formed, large, conch pink blooms on plentiful long stems. Terrific fragrance. Liz's Charm had, it might have had the most reviews of all the hybrid teas. New York, this beautiful bush puts out perfectly formed flowers every time. My only issue with it is that it seems to lack vigor. Jim Herring in Ohio said mauve blend with excellent exhibition form. Its color has been compared to Barbara Streisand, but I compare it to Dr. John Dickman. And from Arkansas, I've grown Liz for 4 years, and every bloom has had perfect form. Blooms aren't huge, but are a good size. The form and color blending make it a magnet for the eyes. Painted porcelain. Picture perfect. California said, when I first laid eyes on it, I literally exclaimed, wow, and jumped back. The color was that showy. The large blooms have a shocking deep pink reverse and a stark white reverse. And Jason Capote in New York said, I gave it one more year, and what a good decision that was. This spring it gave huge blooms, bigger than my hand, with almost perfect form, having high centers of bright magenta with a sheet of paper white reverse. This is a rose that has not had commercial release in the United States, but a number of exhibitors are growing it. Unfortunately, I am not one of them yet, but I'm hoping. It really looks like it does have promise. This is Rocket, Stephen Roussel's latest. Minnesota. Blooms in the first spring flush were on the smaller side, but had perfect exhibition form with upright growth. The color is a fantastic shade of red with pink tones that almost looks neon. From California, good exhibition form and good size. The color straddles the line between light red and deep pink and lasts throughout the life of the bloom. Foliage is dark green, glossy, and completely disease-free. It appears to be a definite keeper. And Huffer in Georgia said, very striking, deep red rose with excellent fragrance, consistent queen quality blooms. And this is Ruby's Daughter. It hasn't had a lot of release, comes from Ray Gullibo. Runway Star, a new HT from Steve Singer. Wisconsin roses. Minnesota, first blooms were large with perfect exhibition form. Stems were tall and straight with glossy light green foliage. Bloom color is eye-catching, a pale shade of pink that fades to white at the edges. From Pennsylvania, Maiden Bush sent out one bloom so far, but it has caught my eye. Soft light pink color, and it had form. And from Georgia, wow, this is one pretty rose. Most of the blooms have lovely exhibition form on this young plant. Exhibition potential for days. The Philosopher's Rose. I have certainly heard a lot about this one, the latest from John Smith. From the East Coast, this rose is gorgeous, looking like an improved version of Gemini. It is one of my new favorites. Each bloom is perfectly formed and huge. The only problem is it is not reliably hardy. This quote comes from New York. Bill Kazemchek in Pennsylvania. Beautiful pink blend blooms with great form and substance. May need some winter protection, but it will do very well on the show table. And from Arizona. This is a great rose that produces a cream bloom with pink edging. It consistently has exhibition form on just about every bloom it produces. Definitely a great show rose. Vibrant Bonnie, another Roussel introduction. From Tennessee, absolutely love the beautiful red and white blooms. If we can get some good stems, it will definitely show. Plants generally lack vigor. From Arizona, it took several years to establish. It's a nice dark pink edged rose that produces huge blooms. It appears to be a promising exhibition rose in my garden. And from Arkansas, another Roussel favorite of mine. The color is striking and the form is excellent. It makes huge blooms. And White Princess. From Georgia, second-year bush continues to grow vigorously. Blooms are large with consistent exhibition form, good petal substance, and no spotting. Blooms hold form for a long time. All in all, a great new rose. Ray Gullibo in Florida said second-year plant is growing well on multiflora. Have seen some beautiful blooms. Gonna be a winner for sure. And Jerry Minot in California said, in a particularly foggy spring, blooms were too big and unwieldy in this yard. However, when I finally saw the sun, White Princess was spectacular. Moving on to grandifloras. Fun in the Sun was hybridized by Christian Bedard. Minnesota said first bloom cycle produced large, striking sprays and singles. The blooms do not possess the classic exhibition form, but their exhibition stage is still stunning. Long, showy stems have dark green foliage, worth growing for the fragrance category, English box, or a challenge glass. New York, this rose had some of the most beautiful blooms I have ever seen. Its blooms literally looked like little suns, like the photos taken of the sun from space. Unfortunately, it got every disease under the sun. So one must take that into consideration. Here's Miss Manners, introduced by Tom Caruth. Pop art. State of Grace from Christian Bedard. That photo is a winning entry I had at the Orange County show last year. My first impression was it wasn't going to be a show rose because it didn't refrigerate, but it can. Harrington on Rhode Island said clear, pale apricot, peachy red reverse flowers are reminiscent of about face. The two-toned buds are gorgeous. Exhibition quality looks to be very good. More sprays than solitary blooms. Interestingly enough, I have more blooms than sprays. I put a comment of my own in here. Color is an apricot yellow blend of hues with old garden rose form. It is a large, vigorous, disease-resistant plant, providing individual one-to-a-stem blooms and small sprays. It does not refrigerate well, but a freshly cut vase of 6 made it to the trophy table. And there's Uptown Girl. Going back, State of Grace is a sport of Uptown Girl. Moving on to Floribundas. Here's Angel Kisses from Dave Bang. Louisiana said white blooms with pink edges have very nice form. Refrigerates well. Makes nice sprays. Gets a little black spot. Really like this rose. From Arkansas, white blushed pink blooms on a nice sized bush with shiny leaves make you look twice. The blooms have good form and hold. Could be a good exhibition rose. And Diane Summers in Wisconsin said exhibition form blooms of white and blush pink. Great form and fairly disease resistant. Slow to get started, but I think it will do well, especially in the one bloom per stem category. Here we have Ay Caramba from Christian Bedard. New York said this rose was gorgeous. I just loved the blooms and had high hopes for it. Unfortunately, it did not survive the winter in my area. So this is winter tender in spite of being gorgeous. Huff in California, a more warm climate, said love the color, putting out great sprays. Burst of Joy. Tennessee. I put this variety on multiflora rootstock and it is growing and blooming much better. Spring blooms were beautiful and had exhibition potential. We expect this orange blend variety to do well in shows. Kazemchek in Pennsylvania said color is gorgeous and has great form and good substance. It will show well. And Ruth Tiffany in California said mostly individual blooms are without exhibition centers, but great color. It doesn't disappoint with consistent bloom cycles and bright color. Camille Pizarro. This photo was taken by Kiara Kazemchek, and it ended up on the cover of the American Rose magazine. These roses, I would love to have some comments. We don't have comments on them yet, so I put them in the publication just so people know they're out there, and sometimes I put some comments from the hybridizers just so you get an idea. Empathy from Burling Leon from Burlington Roses. Eckley in Colorado said amazing colors, looking for stems and size. I like everything about this one from colors to perfect blooms. Impressive. Chris Greenwood in California said plants are compact and present lovely sprays of single red blooms with a white center. Plants are clean and show no signs of disease. Grows well on its own roots. And Huffer in Georgia said red blend with a white center is fuss-free and has mild fragrance. Prolific bloomer in large and small sprays. Will definitely show in the spray class. That looks gorgeous. Another Dave Bang Floribunda, heavenly. From California, the blooms have unbelievable substance, often with textbook exhibition form. It has become quite floriferous, including sprays. Nice, delicate fragrance. No disease. Ray Gullible in Florida said pink blooms with exhibition form from Dave Bang. It can win the one bloom class. Dave Stever in New York said absolutely gorgeous blooms on a short bush. One of the few Bang Floribundas that is winter hardy up here. Another Bang Floribunda, High Honey. In Florida, continues to perform well. Healthy and vigorous grower with well-formed, creamy flowers that have a darker yellow center, mostly in clusters. Occasional exhibition form. Great garden rose with lots of blooms, no disease problems. And in Tennessee, beautiful rose, almost always has perfect form. My problem is that for me, this rose should be a mini flora. Blooms are always small regardless of weather, cooler temperatures. Not sure if it may be larger in other parts of the country. Tends to bloom in sprays. Interestingly enough, if you look at the two different reports, one gets occasional exhibition form and the other almost always has perfect form. So you need to pay attention to the reviews. It's gorgeous. Dave Bang. People love this rose. Cindy Dale in Georgia said non-fading bright yellow blooms in singles and a few sprays. Slow repeat bloom and bloom size is small, but I saw a stunning spray in a spring show. Could make an excellent mini flora. I second that opinion, by the way. Hefner in Indiana said wonderful yellow flowers that are very color fast. I think it should be reclassified as a mini flora due to growth pattern and bloom size. And Carol Shockley in Arkansas said perfect form every time, and the bright yellow make it a winner. Like no other. Mark Chagall. Mysterious. I don't have reviews on this one yet, but it does look mysterious, doesn't it? Never Been Redder from Christian Bedard. I have a couple of reviews, both from California. One Northern California, one Southern California. Large OGR style red blooms come in small to medium sized sprays, which last for literally weeks. The lasting quality of the blooms was amazing. And Kathy Strong in Southern California said, this may become my second favorite red Floribunda after Oh My. Very good red color and good sprays of fluffy smaller blooms. Quick grower, quick repeat. So if you need a red flory on a different bloom cycle than Oh My, get this one. That's an interesting observation. Pink Brick House from Jim Sproul, also sold as Brick House Pink. Power Puff Pink, also from Jim Sproul. And I just have a couple of California reviews on this one so far. In Northern California, medium-sized OGR form blooms come in small to medium clusters on a healthy, attractive bush, which is well clothed in medium green, glossy foliage. The blooms are an unusually attractive and clean shade of medium, deep pink, and they last well on the bush. The sprays are well formed with well-spaced florets. That's important to me, the well-spaced florets. Justin Equan in Southern California says, this Floribunda has all the makings of a really good rose. The blooms combine superb color, good size, and impeccable old rose form. Sprays will win in exhibition. So far, my plant has been completely disease-free. Shannon Lanaya from Chris Greenwood, the hybridizer that brought us Ring of Fire, among other wonderful roses. Bullman in Southern California said a top-performing floribunda that sprays when planted in the ground. My plant on Fortuniana is also too tall, but the smallish, perfect buds and blooms are a must-have. Huffer in Georgia said, excellent blooms with vivid colors when cooler. Form is usually there. Definite exhibition rose. And Elaine Ornelas in Southern California said, this is one of our favorites as it puts out blooms of excellent exhibition form, but does need to be refrigerated to get it to a show. Colors include yellow, orange, and pink. Very few disease issues. And allow me to add, this rose has already won Floribunda Queen in Southern California. Here's Sweet Madam Blue in New York. This rose has a beautiful purple color with a terrific fragrance that won me that award last year. I lost it in a winter freeze. The color and fragrance are so good I will replace it next spring. From Washington, first blooms have nice size that come in sprays on very short stems so far. Gotta love the color and the fragrance though. And Van Boxtel from California, Southern California. I am very pleased with this rose. It is fairly easy to grow and produces great sprays for exhibition. It is very similar to Violet's Pride and Celestial Night in form. Very unusual color. Another Dave Bang Floribunda. From Louisiana, palest pink blooms with beautiful form. Good repeat bloom. Gets a little black spot. And from California, from Robert Russell, beautiful rose. Blooms last a good long time. I have entered this one a few times in rose shows and at the San Diego Fair and have done well with these entries. And Taub says, I love white and near white roses, and I really love this one. It produces single blooms, no sprays, but blooms are very nice. Very good form on nice stems. True Sincerity. This seems to be the most popular of the Ping Lim new roses. California said this rose is a very pleasant surprise. Blooms are a good medium yellow with cerise edging. They have spiral centers and come both singly and in sprays on a very healthy plant that is just starting to spring into glorious vigor. Ping appears to have a winner here. And Capote in New York said, this rose is Ping Lim's masterpiece. It is a beauty. So far, I have not had canes long enough to cut for a show, but the color and form of the blooms are excellent, and the petals have high substance, so it should hold in a refrigerator. Volcano. Jason Capote said, this bush is a showstopper. It is also a beast. Think Poseidon in terms of growth pattern, bloom form, vigor, overall health, and bloom clusters, but with the coloration of Ring of Fire. I got Queen of Floribundas with a very large spray, and it was the runner-up for Best Floribunda Spray in 2 other shows. Huffer in Georgia says, fabulous rose that will win. Introduced in Germany as a hybrid tea, a keeper. And Kathy Strong in California said, great rose. I put it on the table several times at San Diego County Fair last month, and it won its class every time. Moving on to polyanthus. We don't have much in the way of new polyanthus, but these are relatively new ones. The Pretty Polly series, and the pink one seems to have gotten the best reviews. Same as Pretty Polly Lavender and White, but is the best bloomer of the three. From Georgia, prolific blooms come nonstop. Exceptional disease resistance on a perfect landscape rose for front of the border. Huge sprays will win. And Arkansas, love it in the garden, could show with those nice sprays. And there's the third one, Pretty Polly White. Moving on to mini floras, we have a Night of Magic, which is a climbing mini flora. Wisconsin said this rose will easily grow to 4 foot in a pot. It has very velvety petals in a striated red, dark red, with smaller glossy green leaves. Often it will throw a spray at the end of the cane. Elaine Ornelas, who has had great success with it, said, this rose is a vigorous climber and has taken over one of our trellises, and it is in a container. The blooms are stunningly beautiful with dark red and maroon colors in a striped pattern. It often puts out beautiful sprays of 3 to 8 blooms. And Satish Prabhu in North Carolina said very striking and unique color combination. Produces very large sprays. Excellent grower. Here is Delightful. And Dreamcatcher. Dave Bang has so many. Eyes of Fire. Kathy Manji in California said plant needs 3 years to get going. Vibrant colors with exhibition form. Dark glossy leaves. Some single blooms and some small clusters. Long-lived blooms. A better version of Abby's Angel with superior disease resistance. A keeper. From Arizona, when the temperature is consistently in the 70s, it is spectacular rose. We saw plenty last fall, but it didn't produce much this spring with the yo-yo temperatures. The color combination is really eye-catching. By the way, Arizona gets like 100 days in a row of temperatures well over 100 degrees. So you have to take that into consideration with their reviews. Stever in New York said vigorous and winter hardy. Blooms have good form but smaller than many mini floras. Game Changer from Fred Wright. Cindy Dale in Georgia said 4th year plant has vigorous growth. Dusty pink blooms have good repeat, and almost every one has exhibition form. Very little disease. Ray Gullibo in Florida says, looks like swing time. Very good form with long stems on a vigorous bush. Set seeds easily, so hybridizers take note. And Sanford in Texas said, 3rd year own root plant. A great growing bush that has done quite well with lots of hot pink exhibition blooms. And here is Good Morning Gorgeous from Dave Bang. Kansas said she will show well with these great blooms. From Texas, this 3-year-old bush is on Fortuny on a rootstock and grows very high. Well-formed blooms will exhibit and win. And Ruth Tiffany in California, Dave Bang has a great rose here. Great form, but a lot of rust this year. Tall grower and nice blooms. Wish for faster repeat. By the way, rust was rather prevalent in Southern California this year, and many roses got it that normally would not. So that's to be taken into consideration. Healthcare Hero from Steve Singer. Rankin and Valentovic from West Virginia said our 1st year plant is producing nice pink blend roses with excellent form. This one has exhibition potential, and we will add more. Ruth Tiffany in California, this mini flora is really going to town this year. Lots of cane, single blooms, great form, deep pink. Lots to love, and I salute the sentiment. And Wilkinson in Georgia said medium soft pink that glows. Plenty of petals with exhibition form. Vigorous bush with beautiful foliage. Like this a lot. Heroic Love. By the way, this is one that I'm thinking about getting to put in challenge classes with Strawberry Kisses. Here's a climbing mini flora. It's so yummy. From Florida, nicely formed bloom with great coloration. Wants to climb. The late Tom Mayhew in Pennsylvania wrote, a small climber with an occasional beautifully striped yellow blend bloom. Often blooms are mostly white, relatively disease-free. And Ryan Reger in Arizona said, look out. I was not expecting this thing to take off and go nuts. I had to get a trellis because the long canes were taking over the bed. This spring it was covered with clusters of beautifully striped blooms. Give it space. This one is staying. And here's another bang, love and romance. And magical romance, another climbing mini flora. I had a comment on this. This climbing mini flora is nearly identical to a Night of Magic, except that Magical Moment is thornless. It has a rampant, ungainly growth habit, but puts out lovely dark red blooms with coral red, pardon me, with coral red and rose pink stripes, streaks, and flecks. Settle in Alabama said multiple long stems with multiple blooms at the tips. Third-year bush is 5 to 6 feet tall, very similar to a Night of Magic and winter hardy. Mango blush. Boy, did we get a lot of reviews on mango blush. Hefner in Indiana said, a great mini flora, colorful in the garden, good growth habits, healthy foliage, and some fragrance too. Can't say enough good things about this one. Cindy Dale in Georgia, fourth-year bush has taken off and is reaching for the sky. Fair repeat bloom and flowers are an eye-catching, vibrant orange. Almost every bloom has exhibition form and disease resistance. And Ornelas in California said, this is one of our favorite Dave Bang roses. The blooms are mango colored with a blush of lavender around the edges. It holds perfect exhibition form for a long time. The colors and size of the blooms may vary with the season, mostly disease resistant. This rose, by the way, has won Queen in Southern California a number of times, and I do believe this rose is headed for the honor roll. Marshmallow bubblegum. I love that picture. Texas says exhibition form centers. Blooms are consistent in size. The stripes are consistent. Longenecker in California said, beautiful form. This rose is a queen and holds well in our Sacramento heat of 103. Also is a cut flower. Like many roses, the heat decreases the number of flowers. It's currently my favorite mini flora. And Carol Shockley in Arkansas said, only a few blooms on this new rose. Pale pink, pale peach, and cream striped blooms have had outstanding form. Nice. Here's Nancy May from the late Richard Anthony. Fulgham in Texas says, I like the color, which is more pink and white compared to Shameless, which grows next to it. It makes great reliable sprays in spring and singles all year. The bloom, stem length, and overall size of the plant are larger than most of my mini floras, except Whirlaway. Definitely a keeper. Garrett in Tennessee said, plant is a good grower with nice foliage. Creamy white blooms have pink edging with good form. And Jim Herring in Ohio said, pink blend with loads of petals and good exhibition form. It definitely will show. It's an AOE winner. Pink Tuxedo from Fred Wright. From Georgia, hot pink blooms with a white reverse have ironclad substance. Every bloom has a pinpoint center, and grooming is a breeze. Cannot say enough good things about this rose. Shockley in Arkansas says, Fred Wright makes sure his roses have good exhibition potential. Pink Tuxedo would make a good collection rose and may be royal occasionally. And Steve Singer said, bright pink blooms with a white reverse, lots of petals, can be very nice. Radiant Love, that's unusual, from Dave Bang. RBG, boy, did we get a lot of reviews on this one. Hefner in Indiana said, this should be in every exhibitor's garden. Beautiful coloration, good form, and a nice, well-behaved plant that produces continual exhibition blooms. Huffer in Georgia said, fabulous rose from Steve Singer. Full, high-centered blooms with quilled petals. Extremely good show potential. And Diane Summers in Wisconsin said, the best exhibition rose in my garden. Winter Hardy in my Zone 5 garden. Every bloom is perfect with exquisite color. If you don't grow this rose, you should. Here's Ruthie's rose from Steve Singer. Arkansas Deck said, a larger version of Joy. I really liked the color and the form was always there. I had quite a bit of black spot. It had quite a bit of black spot for me. A very good show rose if you could get it through the winter. Gullibo in Florida said, a sleeper from Steve Singer. White with pink edges, very good form with long stems. Gonna win a bunch with wider circulation. And Singer says white with pink edged blooms can have some yellow at times also. Good show form, dark, glossy foliage. Sacrificial Love. That's an unusual color. Spice of Life. That picture was from my garden. Louisiana said, great color with super exhibition form. Heavy bloomer on a vigorous plant. Have seen a lot of queens on it. Stever in New York said, wow, huge, bright, well-formed blooms. Really vigorous and hardy. Blooms with one bloom per stem and sprays. And Ware in Texas said, electric deep pink orange color with exhibition form on singles and sprays. Very good grower. I have to second that. It is a very vigorous grower. Strawberry Kisses from Dave Bang. Kitty Belendez in California said, gorgeous red and white striped blooms are produced on long stems, disease resistant. David Clemens in Alabama said, love the stripes, and each bloom is unique. Good grower with long stems. Bloom can be a little small for a mini flora. And that's in Alabama. Wilkinson in Georgia said, high, pointed centers that last for days. Vigorous, upright bush is covered with blooms. Not all stems have the foliage to back the blooms, but the bush is so large there are plenty to choose from. And there's Surprise. Hefner in Indiana said, another vigorous striped variety from Dave Bang. Beginning to have some exhibition form after last year of nothing but confused blooms. Floribunda-sized blooms. That's in Indiana. Mayhew in Pennsylvania wrote, a nice striped yellow blend bloom with exhibition form. My second-year plant survived the winter, and it is growing well here. Van Boxdale in California said, this rose is almost identical to Swizzle. Without the foliage, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Surprise has larger leaves. This rose does excellent in shows. The glossy, healthy foliage really stands out. Twinkle Little Star. Vernon's Laugh from the late Vernon Rickard. Dreyer in Iowa said, we'll be seeing plenty of this one on the head table. Great color combination and form. Jim Herring in Ohio said, pink blend, lighter in color than Vernon Rickard. Great centers, and it quills. And from North Carolina, Satish Prabhu said, a beautiful rose with mostly good form and great color. Blooms are of good size, quite consistent. Plant is a good grower. And there's Vernon Rickard from Fred Wright. Borman in Pennsylvania said, I love this rose. Great color and a good grower. Had it on the court last spring. Dale in Georgia said stems and bloom size mimic some HTs on this Fortuniana grafted bush. Would make a great high-low with crescendo. Won a queen for me this spring. Disease is not too much of a problem. And Bill Kazemchak, also in Pennsylvania, said large blooms with nice color and very good form on a healthy, vigorous bush. And the last mini flora is Zion Rose from Jim Sproul. Kitty Belendez said the bloom color is a stunning orange and yellow combo, and I have seen no mildew on it even without spraying chemicals. Stream in Florida said blooms are way too small to be a mini flora. Eye-catching color, but plant stays small and stingy. Wickard in Ohio said, I love the colors, very bright and vibrant. It's like a pack of highlighters all in one rose. It will produce good blooms with tight centers, but it is extremely susceptible to black spot. Now on to the miniatures. This rose has not had extensive release yet, so I don't have a lot of reviews on it. But I did see it win at the National Convention in Shreveport last year, and it was stunning. There's Baby Dainty Bess from Jim Sproul. Peter Alonso in California said very disease resistant, true mini size with glossy green foliage. It is a prolific bloomer. The beautiful single light pink blooms really look like the HT Dainty Bess, but in mini form, hence the name. It is truly deserving of the AOE award, which it won, by the way. Rankin and Valentovic in West Virginia said, while a true miniature with blooms that look just like the HT Dainty Bess, most stems are shorter than we would like for exhibiting. Blooms would work in an English box. And Stream in Florida said, good match for a high-low entry. The only drawback is it never has long enough stems to try for the class entry. I recommend it if you like singles. There's Burning with Passion from Dave Bang. Captivating from Dave Bang. Got a ton of reviews from this one. People love this rose. Cindy Dale in Georgia said, I am captivated. Second-year plant is growing like gangbusters, and it has great repeat bloom. Flashy striped blooms have high centers, and I got king with it at our show. So even though it is black spot prone, despite spraying, it gets to stay around. Everyone loves it, including the judges. Justin Ekwan in California said, this Dave Bang miniature is the best rose that I've ever grown. Despite the unusually wet winter and spring, this rose has remained completely disease-free. It is also thornless. For me, this rose has no faults. And Stream in Florida said, Fortuniana grafted plant is nearly 3 times the size of the own root one. Every bloom is identical with great form that holds well for showing. No foliage issues, but slow to repeat, giving only 3 to 4 cycles. And there's Diane Summers' namesake rose from Jim Sproul. And by the way, the rose on the left, if you think you can't show roses as well with so few petals, the one on the left won for photography, Queen of Photography. And on the right, it won in a picture frame. So there are lots of ways to exhibit roses. Smith in Ohio said a single pink blend, which is hardy and a vigorous grower. It will show in the miniature singles class and can be used in arrangements as well. Stream in Florida said we have won in the single class, and it is my best single of all time. It produces nice sprays, grows well, and no issues with disease if sprayed. And Williams in Washington said unique saturated colors, a beacon in my garden. Looks great in a picture frame challenge. Eternal Hope, a nice clear yellow. That was in my garden. Lane Pierce in California said, lovely, clear yellow, good form and good repeat. Disease free and will show. Hefner in Indiana said, my best yellow miniature. Plant grows well, producing well-formed blooms. Can have great sprays, great color retention. And Diane Summers in Wisconsin said, strong canes on a tall plant with brilliant yellow blooms that don't fade. Heavy substance in the petals helps this one last a long time. I have dry wrapped it and kept it in a suitcase all day, and it did well in the show 2 days later. Some issues with black spot. Flaming Hot Cheetos, love that name. He is risen, yet another Dave Bang. And Bowman in California said, a nice yellow rose with petite blooms. Long lasting, slow to open, clean bush with dainty foliage. Add to your garden. Cindy Dale in Georgia said, great grower. Slow repeat of very small yellow blooms striped with orange. Colors are pale and underwhelming. Exhibition form is not seen. It has no pizzazz. So in California, it has pizzazz. In Georgia, not so much. And in Texas, true miniature, good bloomer, nice form, and consistent color. There's Josh's Pink. This hasn't had much, a wide release as of yet. It is a sport of the sport Josh Alonso. Josh Alonso is a sport of bee's knees, so it's a sport of a sport. Kiss Me Baby, a new introduction from Ray Gullibo in Florida. Little Gemstone from Dave Bang. Love and Passion from Dave Bang. Here's some comments on Love and Passion. From Alabama, cute little red striped bloom that won a king for me this year. Bush has remained small. Ornelas in California said, this is another very dark reddish purple miniature with dark red striping, and we love the color. Blooms singly and in small sprays. And in Arizona, I had 2 really nice blooms with good form, but the other 2 blooms were just not there. I think there have not been more than 4 blooms total. The plant is still small and not giving me many blooms, but when it does, they are good. Midnight Fire. This is a lovely decorative rose from Christian Bedard, and I've seen it on the trophy table twice now. Lots of blooms with decorative form on a compact bush. Unique color similar to hot cocoa. Yeah, I can see that. Always in bloom. Still one of my favorite minis. Herring in Ohio said another one with unusual great color. Mauve to orange, like a fire. Decorative 2023 AOE winner. And Trimble in California said decorative blooms of smoky orange red with great disease resistance. Very floriferous. And in last week's Orange County show, it won Miniature English Box. My first crush. Tom Cooney in California said, new to me this year. This red blend has good form and is mildew-free on the California coast. Has been a little stingy with blooms so far. It's in a 7-gallon squat pot. Chappelle in Georgia said, will be a favorite of growers and judges with its great form and yellow center mixed with coral on petal edges. Lots of blooms that have good size, exceptional color and balance. And Stream in Florida said, new plant has outgrown its 7-gallon pot. Love the color and form, plus its pest resistance. A keeper for now. And there's My First Love, another interesting color combination. From Pennsylvania, my favorite color combo, red with white reverse. Second-year plant is gaining some size. Hopefully it will provide something to show. Stever in New York said, eye-catching dark red and white, usually in sprays, winter hardy. And Ware in Texas said, a keeper for me so far. The buds are tight with good form, and often the plant produces small, tight sprays. It has not been a big bloomer yet. It keeps its color well. And there is powder keg. Belendez in California said thornless miniature that produces beautiful clusters of blooms. Disease resistant. I put one of my own comments in here. Deep, rich, dark purple blooms have white and coral pink stripes, streaks, and splashes. No two blooms are alike. They have good exhibition form, but my budded plant is slow to rebloom. The dark purple shows up best in partial shade, while hotter temperatures produce more of a dark red hue. And Shimoda in California said, Dave Bang own root rose, been growing in the ground beginning of the year and doing very well. Lots of growth and blooms. There's Pure Joy. Tom Cooney in California said, mixed thoughts about this Dave Bang Mini. It is deep pink with a yellow reverse, yellow center, and blooms in clusters. Exhibition form is inconsistent. When good, it is very good. We'll need lots of disbudding to show other than sprays. From Pennsylvania, beautiful color, deep pink with yellow reverse and good form on a clean bush. Seems to produce nice sprays also. And from Washington, a nice mini that will show both as a single with disbudding and in sprays. Nice form and stable color. Should also work in the challenge classes. Queen Elise, this is a sport of Hello Gorgeous that was discovered by Bob Martin. It doesn't have a wide release yet. Shanae, Fred Wright hybridizer. On the right, we have a mini queen, and on the left, that's a mini king. So it's off to a very good start. Cindy Dale, blooms have good form and have won for me. They are a beautiful orange sherbet color, but are sparse. Hefner in Indiana, a beautifully formed flower that will win queens. Somewhat larger than many minis. Needs a little more vigor for me. And Elena Williams in Washington said Seattle Queen in 2023. Large for a miniature. Beautiful peach color. And there's Southern Girl from Ray Gullibo. Coleman in Arizona said slow grower and get some black spot. I like the salmon pink color and it has good form. Stands up well to the heat. Should show if I can get it to grow. And Florida, Gullibo said tall upright plant with matte green resistant foliage. High centered light pink blooms. Kind of big for its class. Has exhibited well in the UK. And its parentage is Tammy Clemens by Fairhope. Great parents. West Virginia, an excellent grower producing singles and sprays of orange-pink blooms, most with exhibition form. Will show. And another Dave Bang Rose, Summer Splash. Linda Clark in California said orange and yellow stripe that mirrors Twist and Shout. Somewhat taller growth and setting a few more single blooms, but hard to see much difference between the two. Opens fast and color stripe fades fairly quickly in open blooms. Dreyer in Kansas said stripes seem to fade out, could use in arrangements. And Paris Miriam in California said a beautiful miniature rose. The eye-catching blooms are light yellow with orange stripes, streaks, and flecks. Good form. And here's Swirly Pop, another one that's going to end up on the honor roll soon. Got a ton of reports from this one. By the way, the correct spelling does not have a space between swirly and pop. I don't think it'll make that much difference on an entry tag, but that's the way it's supposed to be spelled, I found out. Fulgham in Texas says, this is an excellent rose with consistently great form. We have won several trophies with it. It remains strong and healthy throughout the heat domes and freezes. No spray, but plenty of great singles. No sprays, but plenty of great singles. Garrett in Tennessee said, nice plant with beautiful blooms. Big bloomer. We think it is one of Dave Bang's best striped varieties so far. And Paris Miriam in California said, this miniature rose is a keeper. Excellent exhibition form. Wonderful yellow color with orange streaks, stripes, and flecks. And I might add, it has won quite a few queens here in Southern California. And there is Swizzle. This is Swizzle in Ray Gullibo's Ralph Moore winner at the, there's Swizzle over here, at the Shreveport National in 2023. Hefner said, another nice light pink stripe that has exhibition form. I have had many nice, well-formed sprays. Kazemchek in Pennsylvania said, another favorite among the new Bang striped roses this year in our garden. Beautiful color and good form. And Ornelas in California said, another one of Dave Bang's beautiful striped roses of yellow with orange stripes. Very often wins at rose shows. It holds its form quite a long time. There's Unfailing Love. Promotional pictures of it show it to be more purple, but that's the color it is in my garden. Tom Cooney, California said, another excellent Dave Bang mini with red and white stripes with a white reverse. Exhibition form, continuous bloom. Looks a lot like Strawberry Kisses. Hodgins in Texas said, this variety is listed as mauve in color in the ARS Selecting Roses Handbook. It is actually red with a white stripe. High centers and great form. Nice deep green foliage with healthy, substantial stems. Taub in Tennessee said, wow, vivid red color holds well, even in extreme heat. New plant added last year, but have seen blooms with excellent form. Excited to see how this one will mature. I've been very pleased so far. And the last mini is Warms My Heart. Hefner said, bright orange yellow reverse, well-formed blooms, vigorous grower. Like this one a lot. West Virginia said, really like this one. Blooms are orange with a yellow reverse and all have good form with miniature size. The bush is growing well and hasn't had any disease so far. Blooms do open a little fast, but cut right, it will be a contender. And Reguera in Arizona said, the colors are bright and great, but the form is not there. Will show in the open bloom class, but doubt it will make royalty. So that's a much hotter climate. So interesting to see the different opinions. On to the shrubs. Belinda's Blush. Georgia said, blush sport of Belinda's Dream. I like it much better than Belinda's Dream. Soft blush pink blooms are plentiful on a bush with great stem and foliage. Can be exhibited, but it's winter tender in Georgia. Krause in Texas said, 4-foot bush is healthy and always in bloom, but the thrips love it. Disease-free like its mom. And Kathy Strong in California says, weaker copy of Belinda's Dream. Stick with the original. This one follows the general rule that sports are lighter in color than their parent and are also weaker. So we have two entirely opposite opinions. Wilkinson in Georgia said it's better than its parent plant, and Strong in California said the parent plant is better. Bring Me Sunshine could be my new favorite Austin. Shoot in Rhode Island said, this rose produces large, deeply cupped rosette blooms that have significant myrrh fragrance. Blooms start out with rich sunset orange-yellow petals and lighten to apricot yellow. I put one of my own comments in here. Rich, deep orange-yellow, old-fashioned blooms have cupped bloom form and citrus myrrh fragrance. My first-year plants are already putting out fragrant exhibition blooms. This is my favorite new introduction from David Austin Roses in years. That bloom, by the way, was off a Beru plant that had only been planted in a pot for 2 months. I did have to put a little caveat here. It starts to climb and it did not rebloom in the fall. So the jury is now out for me. McBrien in Missouri said this rose seems to want to bloom reasonably well, but its growth habit will probably be fairly large. Color-wise, it is in between yellow and apricot. It appears to have 5 to 6 foot canes in the pot now. It looks promising. Chi from Ping Lim. That's different. Anderson in Minnesota said, this is an amazing hardy shrub that has diminutive red blooms that cover a small bush at about 2 feet high. I do not winter protect this bush at all, nor spray it, and usually do not fertilize it. It may be confused for a miniature rose due to the small bloom size, but the disease resistance and winter hardiness proves it can survive on its own. Harrington of Rhode Island said, this cultivar has won awards every time I've exhibited it. The ruby red florets make well-shaped sprays and are covered with loads of 1-inch florets that open closely together. The color is eye-catching and the plant is presently black spot free after a wet spring and no spraying. Here's Elizabeth, a new one from David Austin, named after the late Queen Elizabeth II. My comment, since I'm one of the people growing it, is very light pink rosettes exhibit perfect shrub form with the much coveted button eye that comes from its OGR heritage. It reminds me a bit of the recently discontinued Austin Rose Mary Magdalene, one of my favorites. Allow me to add, since I wrote this in the spring, it has a very spreading form. So you really make sure to give it lots of room. Huffer in Georgia said one of the best David Austin introductions in years. Healthy and makes a great cut flower with a powdery fragrance. And Chris Van Cleve in Alabama said, Elizabeth really does have the most majestic blooms, reminding me of apple blossoms with a strong, sweet fragrance and fading to white as it finishes on the shrub. One to watch. Emily Bronte, that was taken in my garden. Borman in Pennsylvania said, I bought this for fragrance and it did not disappoint. Soft apricot white that grows very well. After 2 bloom cycles, it grew to 9 feet last fall. And I have to second that comment. That's what happened in my garden. I had 3 plants. They were in 25-gallon pots, and just a few months, they were 9 feet tall. Evans in California said, has been slow to establish, as are many Austins for me, but patience is beginning to pay off with more blooms in the 3rd year. Delightful yellowish pink, highly petaled blooms, and it looks stunning at its peak. Harrington of Rhode Island said, the blooms open flat and are many petaled and smoothly graded from a peachy pink center to buff white edges. Very, very fragrant. It has a bit of a climbing habit and blooms continually. Plant is 5 foot by 2 foot with just a bit of black spot after a very wet spring and no spraying. Exhibition quality is very good, very romantic. Give it plenty of room. Eustacia Vi, another Austin. I said, blooms are a pale apricot pink with medium-sized rosette ruffled form. My plant was not overly vigorous in the 1st year, but it gained considerable size and vigor in its 2nd year. Disease resistance is excellent, but rebloom is not very good. It should be a contender to exhibit, though. Johnson in Oklahoma said, I believe this may well be one of the best Austins ever. It is a large rose, 6 by 5 feet. Foliage is a very deep green and attractive. The blooms are moderate to large with many sprays. Color is predominantly white in the outer blooms, but the central color is a peachy or orange pink, subtly displayed. And Williams in Washington said, another fine rose in the David Austin collection. Beautiful color and out of this world fragrance. Gabriel Oak. In New York, beautiful blooms of unusually colored red on my first year plant. Then the bush died back and is having some health issues. If it dies, I will replace it since the blooms are just so darn beautiful and fragrant. Cook in Texas said fabulous color and fragrance. Holds its color in 100-degree heat. Cooler weather encourages longer stems and larger blooms. Well-shaped bush, great for front of garden. And Minot in California said, best Austin I ever had. Shows well, great fragrance. The form is good, but it is smaller than many Austins. In Your Eyes from Tom Caruth, a Hulthemia. From Pennsylvania, gorgeous color as the yellow blooms with fuchsia eye turns yellow lavender with age, making a beautiful display in the garden. Fresh sprays should really grab the judge's attention. From West Virginia, first-year shrub is growing well. The blooms are mostly yellow with red eyes, but also some pink in the petals, depending on the weather conditions. So far, it is disease-resistant. It has been slow to grow in our yard. And Tilly in Washington said, spectacular multicolor effect when planted in mass. One of the best Hulthemias that ranks up there with easy on the eyes. Nice sprays for exhibition. Nye Bevan is very new from Austin. Ouida hasn't had a lot of exposure yet, but I know I have given plants to a number of friends around the country to increase its exposure. This one definitely has lots of potential. From Jim Sproul, here are some comments. Kitty Belendez in California said, it's a lovely light pink with beautiful form on good stems with clusters of about 5 blooms. The fragrance is light citrus. I have not seen any disease on it, even though it has not been sprayed in nearly 4 years. Gullibo in Florida. Light pink English-style blooms from Jim Sproul with beautiful form and nice fragrance. You need more than one, but it is not widely available. And I wrote, seashell pink blooms have English rose form. Blooms come singly and in sprays. Plants are not super vigorous in their first year or so, but are disease resistant. And blooms have a medium fruity fragrance. I got it on the Shrub Court of Honor in the 2024 Pacific Southwest District show and also won the Shrub English box class with it. So this will definitely exhibit. Roald Dahl. I wrote, old-fashioned blooms are a yellow peach blend and attractive. The plant is disease resistant. I found the blooms to be too small for exhibition purposes. Johnson in Oklahoma said, a real winner, size 3 by 5 feet. Gorgeous mid-yellow bloom and with frequency of blooming unequaled among the Austins. Only slight drawback is its growth habit. It wants to grow laterally, so needs training with stakes to get more vertical growth. Small in Florida said, new own root plant is a blooming machine. Rose is quite pretty, but blooms have been small so far, possibly due to the Florida heat. Silas Marner, another new Austin. I wrote, this is a lovely soft pink English style rose. Blooms are only about 2 inches in diameter and come in small sprays. The plant is completely disease resistant. Rebloom is very slow, however. Blooms may be too small for exhibition, but you could show small sprays, so we'll see about that. Johnson in Oklahoma said central areas of bloom are a delicate pink surrounded by bright white. It may produce more sprays than Eustacia Vi. Again, a truly elegant rose. And Van Boxdale in California said very similar to Olivia Rose Austin, but not as prolific a grower. I enjoy the blooms more than Olivia Rose Austin because this rose has more fragrance. Sultry Night, a nice purple from Christian Bedard. Country Parson, another new Austin. The Mill on the Floss, another Austin. Tottering by Gently, a single from that's a David Austin rose. Harrington in Rhode Island wrote, one of the best shrub cultivars in my garden to exhibit. I have won awards for this rose every time I've shown it. The fluttery yellow single flowers are borne mostly in well-shaped sprays. This healthy bush is quite floriferous and is a unique rose, even among other singles. The flowers last long enough to get it to the head table. Eye-catching as a horticultural exhibit and no black spot. Hover in Georgia said single petal blooms in large clusters that will win. It is not long lasting and it will not refrigerate. So I guess this is one you cut the morning of the show. Wilkinson in Georgia said must be cut the morning of the show. There you go. Does have nice stems and foliage on a big bush that makes a beautiful garden plant. On to our very last category, which is climbers. Golden Opportunity looks very promising. Nye in Rhode Island, hey Jackie, said great climber with the most deep golden blooms. Will bloom from the very first planting and now in its third year is tall and upright. Disease resistance is fair, but to be honest, mine is tucked into a hot space with little or no air circulation. Tiffany in California said, Tom hit the jackpot. This one is blooming like crazy and growing well, faster than most climbers, and those large golden orbs are really fragrant. Can't wait till it covers the arch. Peppermint Party, new from Christian Bedard. We don't have many reviews on that yet. True Gratitude, formerly known as Flying Kiss, was voted the best climber in the Biltmore trials. Eckley in Colorado said, topping 6 feet, never covered in the winter. Nice sprays, no disease, mannerly climber. Flynn in Louisiana said, always blooming on fairly strong stems. Full blooms have a fuchsia tint with a pink reverse, scalloped petals, and a wonderful spicy fragrance. Healthy bright green foliage, should show well. And Harrington in Rhode Island said, the hot pink color and 4-foot height make it a standout in my garden and on the exhibition table. Many single stems and sprays, almost always in bloom, and the flowers last several days. No black spot after a wet spring and no spraying. Exhibits very well, an award winner in the shrub class in New England. Okay, now that we've looked at the new roses out there, I decided this year I wanted to do a new section on sneak peeks of coming attractions. So I contacted a number of top hybridizers and got to look at some roses that should be coming down the pike pretty soon. From the great Christian Bedard at Weeks. This will be introduced in 2025, I found out. And there's a miniature. Nice looking hybrid tea. And a climber. And a floribunda. From David Clemens, who has given us such great roses of Whirlaway and Joy. Here's his new mini florist seedling. And we're hoping to see this in commerce next year. From Brad Jalbert of Select Roses in Canada. His new hybrid tea seedling. A decorative HT. And a yellow one. A hot pink one. I do have some of the hybridizers' comments about their seedlings in the publication. And he also has an English style seedling from David Austin Roses. And Emma Bridgewater. This has already been released in England, and chances are we will see it in the United States soon. Danahue. This one has that cupped form, and it is currently on sale in England, and I just found out that it's going to be introduced in 2025 in the United States. It's actually just been added to their 2025 catalog. So if you're doing pre-orders, you can order it. Another one that is on sale in England and may be coming to the US soon. From Jim Sproul. Jim Sproul has more seedlings than anyone I've ever known who is a small private hybridizer. Here's his mini single cuteness. Here's a hot pink mini flora seedling. He started to hybridize English style roses, so here's a tangerine one. And a yellow one. From Steve Singer at Wisconsin Roses. This rose just got a name. Mr. Rogers, it's a mini flora cross of Olivia Rose and Swing Time. That should be available shortly, if not already, from Wisconsin Roses. Another one of his, a HT seedling, another HT seedling. And a nice mini flora seedling. Whenever possible in the publication, I've listed the crosses so you can see where it comes from. And Ray Gullibo has a new one, Golden Slumbers, a miniature. That is just gorgeous. Ray usually introduces his roses through K&M Roses, so when this one comes out, that's where you'll find it. And finally, from Dave Bang. Let me preface this by saying I contacted Dave before I put this together because he had sent me pictures of many of his seedlings. I wanted to know which ones had a good possibility of being introduced soon. He had me take 2 or 3 seedlings out of the grouping because apparently he had a rather unpleasant neighbor who was spraying his seedlings with Roundup. And he lost 2 or 3 of them that, so they were the only plants. So they won't be introduced. However, he said, I will send you more. And he certainly did. Here's what he sent me. A seedling of Gemini. Some of them he's given names, others not yet. But these are the ones he's excited about. Love that color. And lastly, this is an interesting mauve blend. I love that. I want to thank all of my reporters and the reporters who have given me photographs to use for the publication. And if you want to know where to get it, if you don't already know, the ARS website has it available in PDF form for only $9.99. In addition, the hard copy book. When I first heard the hard copy, I thought it was going to be this little skinny paperback, unimpressive book. But I took this picture to show it is a big, glossy, gorgeous book. It is just so beautiful. So you might want to get that. Lastly, if you exhibit, I invite you to contact me to become a reporter for New Horizon Roses 2025. If you exhibit, we want to know what you think. And remember, And speaking of roses, as Bob Martin always said, we are in this for the fun of it. Thank you for joining us. The end.